So the really interesting lesson from the UK, I think, is that there's nothing to be afraid of with this. We've cut our emissions by over 40% actually since 1990. We've grown the economy by 75% at the same time. So there's a real story of decoupling here. There's nothing to be afraid of in terms of that kind of change. So the cost we think now of getting to 100% reduction is exactly what we thought the cost would be for an 80% reduction 10 years ago. As we've set a target, we've got better at doing the things we need to do to get there. And it's turned out that actually it might not be that expensive at all. So you have to think, as a council, what's our role in this? As a national government, what do we need to do? As a business setting your own net zero target, what can you do? What are the levers you have control of, and how can you make the changes that we need?
And one of the concerns that we hear raised is it's going to be much more expensive for me, this is going to impact my business, it's going to be a bad thing. Can you just talk to me a little bit about the UK experience?
So when we've had those concerns in the UK, and they're very much in the UK been centred around energy bills, for example, what we've done is we've looked at the numbers, we've looked at the reality, right? We've looked at the evidence on it. And when you do that, you find it's not as bad as people think it's going to be. And actually, an amazing experience in the UK. We've been through a period of actually quite an expensive period in our journey, spending quite a bit of money on renewables, but people's energy bills have actually fallen at the same time because we've been rolling out energy efficiency alongside the changes to the capital stock that's producing electricity. So actually, a lot of these things that people are worried about when they look forward, and they're right to think about them. These are real things that affect real people. When you actually break it down and you look at the real numbers, they're not that bad, and you can deal with them if you proceed in a sensible way. You get the policies in, and you do it collaboratively. But if you don't start doing it, you don't set your target, you don't have an ambition, it's very hard to do it. It's much more likely in that world that you end up trying to do things too quickly or leaving them too late. So the idea with the Climate Change Act in the UK, the Zero Carbon Bill here, is to set that long-term trajectory, to have that strategy, and to make sure that we're proceeding in a steady, step-by-step way.
One of the criticisms I hear is that, buying a new electric vehicle is unaffordable for most people. Can you just tell us how you've dealt with that in the UK?
A classic example of this in the UK is efficiency standards for cars. Making a car more efficient doesn't need to make it much more expensive, but it means that your fuel bill for filling it up with petrol, filling it up with diesel each time drops dramatically. This means that people can save money day to day, as well as saving emissions and helping the planet. In the next 10 years at least, we think it's going to be cheaper to buy an electric car than to buy a petrol car. And it's going to be way cheaper to run. Right? Electricity is fundamentally cheaper than petrol. Even when you build in all the costs of the charging points, you build in the different tax treatment you allow for these things, it's a lot cheaper to run an electric car, and once the battery costs keep coming down, it's going to be cheaper to buy it as well.
That's great. That's one thing that we are hoping that we'll hear from our community when they send back their submissions on our climate change framework. That support for clean cars is critical. It's lovely.
Brilliant.
Climate change is critical to all of us and future generations, so please go to AK, have your say, give us your feedback on our climate change framework and do it before the 30th of September. Thank you. Kia ora.